was scrolling through TikTok the other day when I saw a video talking about organ donors and how they're treated when they're in their most vulnerable state.
Hospitals will either let you die or actually actively try to kill you to get your organs. Well, it's no longer a conspiracy theory. It has just been confirmed by a new article in the New York Times, and it says a push for more organ transplants is putting donors at risk. People across the United States have endured rushed or premature attempts to remove their organs. Some were gasping, crying, or showing other signs of life.
Like always, I went to the comments to see what people were saying, and a lot of them claim that someone they know who works in healthcare told them not to register as a donor.
I was an organ donor until I became a nurse and had it removed. I'm not an organ donor. They let my dad die and then pushed us out of the way to pack him with ice and pushed us of the room. As RN, I am not an organ donor. My husband is a trauma surgeon, is also not a donor. They did this to a friend over 10 years ago. I immediately removed organ donor from my license. My friend was in a coma for only 4 days with some brain active. The donor agency sued his family to pull the plug and won, killing the new dad of a 2-month-old. My mom, retired anesthesiologist, always warned me not to check that off. Terrifying.
It sounded really messed up. So, I started digging into it. What I found was honestly terrifying. The hidden risks of declaring death. The narrative around organ donation is simple. You die, and your organs give someone else a shot at living. But what most people don't realize is how blurred the line between life and death can be, and how mistakes, or worse, negligence, can happen when billions of dollars and a desperate demand for organs are involved. Most organ donations happen under a protocol called brain death. This means the brain is considered irreversibly damaged, even if the heart is still beating with the help of machines, and doctors use neurological tests to confirm brain death, checking if the patient responds to pain, has brainstem reflexes, or can breathe on their own. But these tests can be rushed or flawed, especially in high-pressure environments where timing is critical. Organs must be harvested quickly to remain viable, which can create a race against the clock. And in rare but very real cases, this race leads to patients being pronounced dead too soon. In 2025, a shocking U.S. federal investigation revealed something terrifying. In 28 confirmed cases, organ retrieval may have started before the donors were actually dead. These weren't just technical errors. These were moments where people who still showed signs of life, movement, neurological activity, were nearly cut open for their organs. Real-life horror stories. In October 2021, 36-year-old Anthony Thomas T.J. Hoover II was rushed to Baptist Health Richmond in Kentucky after a suspected drug overdose. Doctors said he was brain dead and told his family there was no chance of recovery. Since TJ was a registered organ donor, they prepared to remove his organs. But TJ wasn't actually gone. During what's called an honor walk, a small ceremony where the donor is wheeled to surgery, TJ's eyes opened and started following people in the room. The medical staff brushed this off as just a reflex, not a sign of consciousness. Earlier that day, TJ had even moved during a procedure, but no one told his family. When they started prepping him for surgery, TJ began thrashing, crying, and moving his arms and legs. Witnesses described the scene as horrifying. 2 doctors refused to continue. One of them even left the room entirely.
The pronouncing physician comes in, and when she comes in, she walks back out and she says, "I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this case. I don't feel comfortable."
According to whistleblowers, the organ donation coordinator tried to get someone else to continue the procedure.
The organ coordinator that was there, she steps out to call the supervisor at the time to tell him that the pronouncing physician was refusing to do the case. She said that he was yelling at her, telling her she needed to find another physician to come. And she's like, there is no one. There's no one else to come do this case.
But the whole thing was stopped at the last minute. TJ survived, but he now lives with severe memory loss, PTSD, and trouble walking. His story became part of a massive federal investigation into organ donation practices. In October 2009, 41-year-old Colleen Burns was taken to St. Joseph's Hospital in Syracuse, New York, after overdosing on Xanax, Benadryl, and a muscle relaxant. Doctors quickly declared her brain dead and started preparing her for organ donation. But Colleen wasn't brain dead at all. She was in a drug-induced coma, something that can be reversed. Nurses reported that Colleen's toes curled when they scraped the bottom of her foot, a normal reflex, but no one acted on it. They also noticed her breathing on her own and moving her lips while being prepped for surgery. Despite all this, the medical team continued with the organ removal plans. As they wheeled her into the operating room and shined the bright lights on her, Colleen opened her eyes. The team immediately stopped the procedure. Colleen recovered and was discharged 2 weeks later. The hospital was fined $22,000 and forced to change its brain death protocols. Why do these mistakes happen? Many people don't know this, but organ donation is part of a multi-billion-dollar industry. No one sells organs directly, but hospitals and transplant centers make a lot of money from each surgery. For example, a single heart transplant in the US can cost over $1 million. While doctors and organizations don't profit from the organ itself, there's a lot of money involved in the process: surgeries, transportation, and preservation. This can create silent pressure to collect organs as fast as possible. When profit or success rates become more important than human life, mistakes can happen. Families feel pressured. One organization at the center of this storm is Network for Hope, formerly known as Kentucky Organ Donor Affiliates. According to federal findings, staff from this nonprofit sometimes pressured families or attempted to move forward with organ retrieval, even when families or medical staff had doubts about the donor's status. Imagine your loved one is lying in a hospital bed, in a coma. You're barely processing the shock. Then someone from an organ donation agency shows up asking for consent to take your loved one's organs while the medical team hasn't even given you clear answers about their chances of survival. According to a congressional report, some families felt cornered into making decisions before they even had time to understand what was happening. There were even allegations that hospital staff were urged to speed things up so organs could be retrieved while still viable. The Health Resources and Services Administration, HRSA, launched an investigation after multiple disturbing reports surfaced. The investigation uncovered 351 botched or questionable donation cases. In 73 of them, donors exhibited signs of life that should have disqualified them from being organ donors at that moment. Global cases of organ harvesting. In May 2024, a disturbing case reached the Federal High Court in Abuja, Nigeria. The fathers of two teenage boys, Oluwatobi Adedoyin, 16, and Yahaya Musa, 17, claimed that Alliance Hospital and Services Latlanid illegally removed their son's kidneys without proper parental consent. The family stated they were never fully informed about the surgeries, and in one instance, the boy was allegedly forced to sign consent papers, falsely stating he was 18 and donating a kidney to a relative. In January 2008, Indian authorities exposed one of the country's largest illegal kidney transplant rackets in Gurgaon, near New Delhi. The operation had been running for 6 to 7 years, during which an estimated 400 to 600 kidneys were illegally removed from poor migrant workers and laborers, mainly from Uttar Pradesh and nearby states. These victims were paid only around $1,200 to $1,500 US, while the kidneys were sold for massive profits to wealthy recipients both in India and abroad, including clients from the US, UK, Canada, Greece, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. The victims were often lured with fake job offers and in many cases drugged or forced into surgery. The transplants were conducted in a residential house turned into a fully equipped medical facility, complete with operating theaters and guest houses. The racket was uncovered when a victim managed to escape and alerted the police. A raid in late January 2008 rescued several survivors and led to the arrest of doctors, drivers, and middlemen involved. Should you still be an organ donor? This is a hard question. On one hand, organ donation saves lives. Thousands of people are alive today because someone donated their organs. On the other hand, these stories show that the system can fail, and that's scary. If you want to stay a donor, here's what you should do. Learn the laws in your country. In many places, the rules for declaring brain death are different from those in the U.S. Talk to your family. If you are an organ donor, make sure they know your wishes. Ask questions. It's okay to ask how doctors confirm death and what steps are taken before organ removal. You can also leave specific instructions, like requiring 2 independent doctors to confirm brain death.